Hi, this is Ushio, and welcome back to Dreamcatcher. It's time for another chapter of the story, so let's get into it. Would you like a recap? Yeah, let's do a recap, why not? In the last chapter, Rizza and friends, plus Nirako, finally made it to Redacross's secret family library outside the Rosenthal, where they met the librarian's apprentice Monty. Monty assisted them in finding as much information on the dreams as they could, though they still had little to show for it in the end, even after a frustrating encounter with the mysterious librarian, Mr. Totem. Damien did manage to locate a passage that referenced the Dragon Walls again, along with a bit of additional information on them. Monty then recalled there once being another book all about the Dreamer legend. The only problem was it wasn't in the library, and it had been checked out some time ago by an old friend of Mr. Totem's, one Phaedra Eiley. Nirako somewhat sheepishly admitted that Phaedra was her grandmother, and with no other leads to follow, the group set off again with the intention of going to the elfin village of Gavernell to collect the book. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Sandvalley, Sashira confronts her mysterious boss about Nirako's failure to eliminate Rizza, questioning his decisions. He lets her know in no uncertain terms that her criticism is not welcomed. Here we go. I hate walking. My feet hurt. This is dumb. Isn't there a better way to travel? Damien's fists clench in frustration as he whirls on her. Would you please stop whining? Rizza sticks her tongue out at him. Make me. Okay, do you really want me to do that? Rizza raises a curious eyebrow. Sure, try me. Fine, but remember, you asked for this. Bam! Before Rizza knows what's happening, he's knocked her feet out from under her, and she hits the ground hard on her back. The next thing she knows, there's a knife at her throat. Remember what I told you about letting your guard down? Rizza gulps, feeling the blade just lightly brushing her neck. Point taken. He leans in a bit, getting close to her face. Good. Wow, that was kind of harsh. As Damien pulls himself to his feet and continues down the path, Luna and Zan exchange puzzled glances. I wonder about that kid sometimes. Which one? Both, actually. Rizza sits up, a little shaken, before noticing that something feels off and patting her pocket, jumps to her feet. Hey, give me back my wallet! Nah, I earned this, you got robbed. So, where exactly are we going? That, Gavernell place? The road they've been following had crossed slowly from lush forest to dry brush to craggy canyon. Tall rock faces surround them on both sides. Eventually, but we're going to Rosenthal first. It's easier to get back to Redacross from there. Really? How? They got a train? Rizza halts in her tracks. You mean to tell me that not only are there trains here, but we could have taken one out here? I mean, I guess, but they're not cheap, and it really wasn't that far of a walk. It was absolutely that far of a walk. Luna's ears twitches slightly. Hey, can anyone hear that? What's that? It's probably just a rabbit. The last time we thought it was a rabbit, it was a spirit Igne. No, sounds like... Suddenly, a flash of rusty red blows by them, skittering to a stop a few feet ahead and looking back at them with wide eyes. The creature, some sort of fluffy red and white dog, with a curled tail, barks twice at them before taking off again. That was weird. What do you think... Okay, then the ground begins to rumble. This isn't good. They spin around to find what the dog had been running from barreling toward them. A massive hooved and antlered creature tears through the canyon, horns lowered, kicking up rocks and dust behind it. Collectively, the party's eyes go wide, and they take off in the same direction as the dog. The hell's that? An elk's tooth igneus. Alright, big, mean, doesn't like being bothered. Sam bypasses her atop feather scales, running at full tilt away from the creature, and the disgruntled-looking Damien thunders by on Arashi, having cut the ropes of their gear and letting it fall away. The pile of tents and supplies disappear under the creature's feet. Not good. Rizza looks around as her friends push ahead and the Igneous gains on her. Hey, little help here? But none of them seem to hear. She pushes herself forward, panic setting in as the massive hooves get closer. Something flickers to life in the back of her mind, and she resists a sudden strange urge to go down on all fours. A few golden sparks flit around her. Suddenly, right before the monster overtakes her, she feels something wrap around her arms and she's lifted off the ground. Looking up, she spots a mess of purple plumage and realises she's being carried in the talons of a giant bird, and worse, she recognises it. Nareko leans over from atop the bird's back, as if only to show her face, since it isn't like she can see Rizza, and then leans back and disappears from sight again. They swerve off to the left and let the Ignis run by, and meet the others in a small crevice that the creature passes right by. Wow, that was close. Everyone okay? The response she receives, while displeased, is generally to the affirmative. Close call. The bird shakes itself a bit, returning to its normal size and landing on Nirako's arm. Did anyone else know the bird could do that? Luna and Zan shake their heads. Rizza turns on Damien as he dismounts Arashi. Did you know? He shrugs. She just saved your life. Maybe try being a little grateful. That's not what I asked. Damien glances at the bird. I knew her species could do it, but I've never seen it myself. Unbelievable. Rizza sighs, collapsing onto her back on the ground. Whose side are you on anyway? I'm not on anybody's side. Stop making this a competition. Anyway, what do we do about that? Rizza follows his gaze to the back of the crevice, where the rusty-coloured dog is cowering against the wall. It seems to perk up when it gets a good look at Rizza, however, and surrounds itself with a bright orange swirl of light. Everyone is magic! As the energy dissipates, in the dog's place is a boy, probably about Rizza's age. Rizza? Rizza squints, and then gasps in recognition and runs up to hug him. Pharaoh, oh my god, what are you doing out here? Oh, I'm just passing through. Very, very quickly. Yeah, why was that thing chasing you? He shuffles his feet awkwardly. I may have accidentally tried to hunt its baby. I thought it was a deer. How do you mistake that for a deer? Never mind. It explains why it was so pissed off. Anyway, I remember you. You're the one that saved Rizza's sorry behind one of the many times she got lost in the woods, aren't you? Pharaoh nods sheepishly, and Rizza makes a face at Luna. Damien just looks at the new Halcrea with distaste. Didn't you have other friends? Oh, look, Pharaoh's girlfriend's back. The Halcrea look up as a large sandy-coloured puma makes its way down the rock face and into the crevice, followed by a blonde boy, a bit older than Pharaoh. Triv, she's not my girlfriend? Whatever you say, kid. There's a lot of people here. He surveys the group. Wow, there's a lot more of them this time. What's you all staring at? Never seen a talking cat before? Not one that wasn't an Ignis. How, it's a long story. The puma holds out a paw in a stop motion. I don't want to tell it. Who are you lot anyway? They're Rizza's friends. At least, I guess so. I mean, most of them are. Rizza throws a sour glance at Narako. Well, the name's Trivier, but my buddies call me Triv, and then this kid is... Adrian Rivers, pleased to make your acquaintance. He's doing it again. I know, he's always making us look bad. There's nothing wrong with being polite, you mannerless louts. Adrian stands back up and clears his throat. Where are you all headed? Rosenthal? Which is to get back to Red Cross so we can go to Gavernell? It's kind of confusing. Oh, Gavernell. Going to see the elves. I hear it's really pretty there. Actually, one of them has something we need, so if you don't mind, we'll be going. Hey, hang on, we're just talking. What are you guys doing all the way out here anyway? Like I said, just passing through. We had to get away from Adrian's village. It was getting pretty hairy over there. Oh, you mean that village that shot arrows at us for being Halcrea? Yeah, that's the one. That's understandable. Good for you. Thanks. Yeah, things were getting pretty tense, so we figured we should bail before they came after us with the torches and the pitchforks. Now we're just kinda wandering. Makes sense. Rizza looks back at the group. Speaking of wandering, does anyone want to go back and see if there's anything left of our gear? Survey the damage. It doesn't look good. Wow, this sucks. What do we do now? If I may, there's actually an inn nearby. It's where we're heading. Can we afford one? Well, I'm not sleeping on the ground. I'll put it on my tab. Didn't you get in trouble for doing that last time? Yeah, but I think I can endure another angry mum letter. What's she gonna do? Cut me off? Maybe. Oh, sorry sir. That credential's expired. The innkeeper points at Zan's family insignia. Do you have an updated one by chance? Expired? They don't expire. It's the Red Cross family crest. You just send the bill to the mansion. Well, we were told that it's been updated to a new design and not to accept that one anymore. I even have a letter from the Mayor King office saying so. Let me see. The innkeeper hands him an official-looking document. At the bottom, it's signed Dr. Mariana Redacross, First Lady of the City of Redacross. Zan, I think your mum cut you off. Zan, red-faced, shoves the letter back at the innkeeper. Well, so much for that idea. I guess we're sleeping on the ground. Luna glances at her, sighs, and fishes a wallet out of her pocket. She slaps a few paper bills down on the counter. Will this cover it? The innkeeper blinks down at the pile of notes. These are banknotes? I didn't know they let Ignea open. Luna bares her fangs and lets out a low growl. Right, my apologies. Yes, this will be enough for the night. Good. Rizza butters to Luna as they ascend the stairs to their rooms. By the way, where do you get money exactly? Don't worry about it. Now I'm really curious. So, I am curious, what's the story of this village shooting at you for being Halcrea? Well, the story goes that originally that land was home to village of Halcrea. Then the humans came in and built their village nearby. They immediately didn't get along and were fighting over the land on the outskirts of the villages for farming and stuff. If the Halcrea were there first, shouldn't it be theirs? You'd think that, but it rarely works that way, I'm afraid. It usually goes to the group with the better weapons. Or more blind hatred. Adrian glances at him, expression unreadable. Anyway, there are still pockets of humanity that see Halcrea as inferior, no different than animals. My village just happens to be one of them. So why are you different? If that's what you were raised around, I mean. It's a bit of a long story. But the short version is that I met Farah at a young age, so I didn't really have time to develop the same prejudice that the rest of them have. What about that Halcrea village? Why didn't you just go there? Adrian shifts uncomfortably. It's not there anymore. But hey, we got an excuse to go see the world. The innkeeper had protested the animal coming inside until Triv had opened his mouth to defend himself. I've been trying to get these two out of the woods and into some other ones for ages anyway. There's so much else out there than someone's little hometown. I can get behind that. By the way, are you guys heading anywhere in particular? Not really. Just doing the drifter routine. Why? Want to come to Gavenel with us? Yeah, sure. How big is this group gonna get? Wait, what now? No way. We don't need to drag any more people or creatures or what have you with us. We don't need an assassin either, but we've got one. Back off. It's not your decision. Since when's it yours? Since we're out here for me? In fact, if not for me, you'd probably still be stealing fruit back in Cradir. At least I wasn't getting chased by monsters all the time. Fine, if you liked it so much, go back. See if I care. Forget it. Do what you want. He angrily pushes himself out of the chair and stalks up the stairs. Luna looks over at Rizza. To be fair, if not for him, you might well have been eaten by Rat Ignea, so I'd say you're even. Doesn't mean he gets to tell me what to do. Luna raises an eyebrow at her, but sits back and doesn't comment further. Yeah, Rizza needs to even out a little bit, I think. She's kind of strong-arming everybody into doing what she wants to do. Never mind. Oh, maybe we shouldn't come. No, actually, you might be right. Maybe it is a bad idea. It's fine. You guys obviously have your own stuff going on. Rizza leans back in her chair and sighs. Nurako stands in the stables with Arashi, reaching up to scratch his neck. The horse gives her a soft nicker in return. Damien's off sulking somewhere, and no one else is really inclined to talk to her. At this point, she doesn't think running away would be a good option. She has a feeling it would go south somehow, largely by way of how her fellow Aijin would look at her when she returns, not having completed her mission. The fact that she's been in close proximity to her target for this long and hasn't eliminated her is certainly unprecedented, but she isn't sure if it's worth it at this point. Despite reasonable suspicion, they haven't harmed her. They've even removed the restraints, albeit not entirely by choice. There isn't much keeping her there. And yet she stays. Her client would presumably be upset at her for not finishing the job, but she has to wonder what it is about this girl that made them want her dead in the first place. The dreamer business they've been discussing seems important. Perhaps it has to do with that, but it doesn't sound like a bad thing. Admittedly, she's worked for people with questionable motives before, and possibly killed people who didn't entirely deserve it, but there was usually something sketchy about them. Rival factions in a war perhaps, but here there's nothing, and the girl hardly seems to know what she's even doing here. Narako snaps out of her thoughtful state at the sound of someone approaching her from behind. The footsteps don't have the cadence of anyone that normally travels with them, so she assumes it's one of the newcomers. She ignores it until she hears the person stop near her, at which point she levels a mild glare in their direction. A vague black blurred blob of a person is visible against the brightness of the sky at the stable entrance. Tall, thin, well postured, walks with a slight air of self-importance, definitely male. "Can I help you?" "Who said anything about help? I just came out for some air, saw you in here, and thought you looked lonely. It's Adrian." "I'm fine." "Of course you are. Anyway, I don't believe we've been introduced." Narako can make out the rough shape of the hand he extends. "I'm Adrian." Reluctantly, she shakes his hand. "Narako." "It's a pleasure, Miss Narako. Normally I'd bow, but I suppose you wouldn't see it." "Not really. You knew I was blind." "I wasn't sure, actually, but thanks for confirming." "Where did you learn to move so gracefully?" "You learn many things in Aijin training, and that's one of them." "I was more interested in how you learned to navigate like you could see. The simple version is that I let my other senses guide me in their own way." Narako hands Arashi a flake of hay from a nearby bale. "Anyone can learn it, though I admit there's more incentive when your freedom to experience the world without help is on the line." "I see her. No pun intended. I'm surprised they let a blind person be an Aijin in the first place, though." At Narako's sour expression, he tries to backpedal. "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean I see elfin culture is still a mystery to the humans. The only requirements to join the ranks of Aijin are that you're an elf and you're able to complete the training, which I did." "But aren't you half?" Narako pauses, narrowing her eyes in his general direction. "You're not as ignorant as you'd have me believe, are you?" "What do you mean by that?" "You've heard of the Aijin. You easily identified me as half-elf, despite how uncommon we are, and perhaps most interestingly, you seem to be aware of the elfin tradition to shake with the left hand." "Ah. Guilty as charged. When you grow up in a very small, very prejudiced place, you make it your business to learn about other cultures, though I admit it's rather hard to track down anything significant on the elves." I do suppose we're not very keen to share our ways with others." "I'm sure there's a good reason for that." "There are several." "Thought as much. I always wondered, though. What of elfin magic? I've heard it's different than what the mages use." "Yeah, it is. There's a sect of the Aijin who are more healers and mediums than fighters. They use a sort of magic." "Mediums?" "They talk to the dead." "Oh, I didn't realise that was possible." "Supposedly. I'm no caster, though. You'd have to ask one of them for the details." "Interesting. So, what brings you on the journey, anyway?" "Not by choice." "Oh? Let's just say they don't trust me." "Oh, you're the assassin they mentioned." Narako just glares at him. She can feel him take a step back. "Hold on, I'm not judging." "Then what are you doing?" "I'm just trying to kill some time. By the way, how did you know I was human anyway?" Narako flashes him a wry smile. "Lucky guess, but thanks for confirming." It's an interesting combination of characters there. Later that night, Damien rolls over in his bed, trying to get comfortable. A storm has kicked up outside, pelting the windows of the inn with rain. The thunder rumbles intermittently, lightning occasionally brightening the room. He still isn't used to beds. Even a tent and sleeping bag are a massive improvement over his usual accommodations in Cradia, which were by and large an empty crate and whatever garbage blanket he could find that hadn't been commandeered by Rat Ignair. He rubs his temples, trying to alleviate the headache that's been plaguing him on and off the past few days. He supposes it's part of the reason he'd been so irritable earlier. He can't blame Riza for being mistrusting of Naraka, really, but she doesn't need to retaliate by dragging more people into their mess. He also still isn't sure what they're going to do with the half-elf, and she doesn't seem sure herself whether she's actually given up on her mission or not. Slowly, that thought crosses through his mind, and then another, and they become increasingly jumbled and incoherent as he drifts off. Oh man. As it all turns to black, however, something stirs in the darkness. A massive shape turns to face him, a vague impression of leathery wings flexing on its back, and then all he sees is teeth. Damien sits up straight with a gasp, covered in a cold sweat. His eyes flit around the interior of the room, searching the shadows for unseen threats as he tries to catch his breath. Still shaking, he hugs his knees to his chest, burying his face in the blanket. Riza sits up, prodding the dying fire with a metal poker. Naraka sits opposite her, quiet as ever. Luna had insisted that they share a room because she wasn't paying for another just to get Riza to stop whining, but instead they both wound up in the common area. Riza figures she would at least have the dozing overnight desk clerk as a witness if the would-be assassin tried anything. They sit in silence for a long while, Riza suspiciously glancing at her every few seconds. You know, I'm not going to kill you in your sleep. You can go to bed. I've got no reason to believe that, and I can't sleep anyway. Why is that? Why do you care? Narako sighs irritably. Contrary to popular belief, Aijin aren't just emotionless killing machines. Could have fooled me. Narako rolls her eyes, a muscle memory gesture she's retained over the years. Don't you think that if I haven't hurt you by now, I'm probably not going to? Sure, that's what you want me to think, so I'll let my guard down. Tell me who hired you to kill me and why then. Who is classified? I can't reveal my clients. It's against our code of honour. She can practically hear Riz rolling her eyes. And I don't know why, we don't ask that many questions. So you have a code of honour and not morals, apparently. What if you're murdering innocent people? I've found that few are completely innocent, but my usual targets do tend to be more on the criminal side. I'm not a criminal, so it would seem. What's that supposed to mean? It means that I might be rethinking my career choices. Riza harumphs. Does it mean you're not going to murder me now? I thought that was obvious at this point. Riza gives her a good long stare, eyes narrowed suspiciously. I still don't trust you. Nah, wouldn't expect you to. You're not going to kill me though? If I do it, it would be for personal reasons, not monetary. It's fair. The stairs creak, and an exhausted-looking Damien wanders down. He seems surprised to see the two girls sitting by the fire. What are you two doing up? Could ask you the same question, buddy. You could. He yawns, coming to sit in an unoccupied armchair. They sit in silence, and he warily glances between the two girls. So, are you two, like, not gonna kill each other? I believe we've come to some sort of truce. Might be a stretch, but yeah. Possible temporary, possibly permanent ceasefire. We'll see. Well, some of us won't. Oh, so you do have a sense of humour. Damien continues looking from one to the other, still a bit perplexed. Is this just a girl thing, or he decides not to question it? Okay, really, what are you two doing up? Riza shrugs. Couldn't sleep, don't know why. Conscience weighing on you for dragging more people on our misadventures. Don't start. What's your deal with that anyway? I mean, I kinda understood it with Zan, but... yeah, he didn't exactly make the best first impression. I don't know. I guess it's just whatever we're doing is probably kinda dangerous, considering that kidnapping and assassination attempts have been made. No offence, Nero. None taken. Anyway, I just don't want to feel responsible if something happens to them or any of us. Riza considers that. Well, I think if anyone should feel responsible, it'd be me. And that's not a position you want to be in. He glances at Narako, who's staring into the fire with a blank expression. Take it from me. Riza looks suspiciously from Damien to Narako and back. You ever gonna tell me what happened with you two before she tried to kill me? Damien and Narako do the closest thing to exchanging glances that they can. It's really not an experience I'm interested in recounting. Rizza raises an eyebrow at him, then yawns, stands up and stretches. Well, if we're not getting a bedtime story, then I'm just gonna go bed. See you in the morning, if you're still here. Yeah, I will be. Damien watches her disappear from view, and then turns back to the fire. You're going to have to tell them eventually, you know. He looks to Narako, who is still staring unseeingly into the flames. Why is that? Because you don't want them to be caught off guard if it happens again. That's not fair. Damien frowns, rubbing his hands together uncomfortably. If it ever happens again, whether or not they know in advance isn't going to do anything to help them. He rubs his temples a bit, trying to will the headache away, which is why I can never let it happen again. Oh, and that is the end of chapter 9. A bit more twisty and stuff compared to some of the more recent chapters. So yeah, this was a really good chapter. We met some more people, but yeah, we got some hidden secrets and shit. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully there will be more in the future, but for now this is Ushio signing off, and hopefully I will see you next time.